Hello everyone, my name is Trinah Kirabo and I am a participant in the National Students Challenge Against Anti-Corruption 2023. I'm going to be delivering a speech as to why I feel like there should be a need to curb corruption. We perpetuate a corrupt system by participating in it. Be a loose clog in the machine. You see, corruption refers to the dishonest and fraudulent conduct by those in power and has negatively affected the sectors in Uganda, from education to works and transport to the healthcare. It is widely caused by the political instability, low wages, and lack of rule of law by the government. Corruption in Uganda is characterized by grand theft and embezzlement of public funds. This sort of act cuts across the various sectors of development in Uganda, and personally, the area I feel has been greatly affected is healthcare. Before we even look at the petty corruption happening at the end of the food chain by the less advantaged, we acknowledge that it begins from the government itself. For example, when a health awareness issue is raised or a project is supposed to be funded, the money does not actually reach the required areas of development due to some of the extortion done by those in government offices. This sort of criminality not only affects the workers in our health centers, but also those who require medical aid and the economy of the nation by diverting talents. For example, when a nurse or a doctor is paid less money, most times they look for jobs where else, and sometimes in different countries. And the resources, by raising production costs, since the allocated money did not serve the right purpose in the health centers. The less advantaged endure more agony because the government facilities lack the necessary equipment and medication. Hence, they are forced to turn to private hospitals, which are way more costly. It affects me as a teenager to see vulnerable people struggle to receive a service that should have been given freely. Such instances not only affect the needy, but also corrupt officials and also those who are more privileged. For instance, when immediate health care is required, and national referral hospitals have filled with substantial equipment and medication. To handle the entire situation, they are referred to bigger hospitals outside Uganda, and some of those who cannot afford it end up losing their lives. When we look at the petty corruption, which is largely caused by the grand theft happening in the government, we get to realize that currently people need to pay bribes in order to access medical care. Because Uganda lacks clear and definite policies, oversight mechanics, and transparent inventory systems, so the little money the vulnerable would have spent on medical care is spent bribing health workers. Corruption also channels money to the greedy instead of helping those in dire need. Fighting corruption in Uganda has been a tug of war. As the government tries to expose corrupt leaders and keep the public sector honest and transparent and accountable, more dishonest public workers are vetted into the system, making it impossible to actually ensure that every employee has the public sector best interest at heart. Proverbs chapter 29 verse 2 says that when the righteous increase, people rejoice, and when the wicked rule, people run. But even with this sort of dilemma in our country, we can still create awareness of the ongoing issues affecting not only the health sector, but Uganda as a whole. I believe I can be able to address the issues of integrity that is affecting many Ugandans by teaching them why it is important to be honest and transparent in their work. These lessons can be taught through youth groups, by sitting with my peers and discussing how best to keep each other accountable in our day-to-day activities. They can also be taught through creating awareness in sports, board games, theater and drama to ensure that the rising generation has core values that are prestigious. I can be supported by the government through the following ways: engaging us more in anti-corruption talks and showing us how best to expose corrupt public workers. This helps us to generate community responsibility. Engaging us in conversations that remind us that we have the responsibility for the change in Uganda. It It also helps to give a platform to address our concerns as teenagers and volunteer more in government programs that benefit not only the health sector but our society. This increases integrity among us and advocates for transparency, peace, and equity. You see, the biggest disease right now is corruption, and the cure is transparency. And this disease not only affects the vulnerable, but also those who are more advantaged. It is going to come back and hunt each and every one of us down if we do not have the courage and take a stand for uprightness. We need to remember that curbing corruption starts with each and every one of us.